I'm Lottie, I'm a mum of 2 and a childminder to 17, and I get asked all the time, how did I start childminding, what's an Ofsted visit like, how do I do my planning and things like that. And I just wanted to get it out there in one big video just so that I can share it. If anybody asks again, I'm not constantly repeating myself or things like that. And it's also a great way for anybody new. Also, I've got my little assistant with me here today. Very noisy, I'm very sorry. I've got nowhere for her to go. What? We're liking cuddles at the minute. So I'm going to get up a list of questions that are my top questions I get asked, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so as you can see from behind me, I get asked this all the time. Are the children allowed to pick up the resources by themselves, or is it a set time? Is it a free play area? What is it that I do? And can they get them on their own, or do they need certain bits out each day? Our place is a free play area. If the children want something off the top shelf, they'll ask me and I'll get it down. If they want something off the bottom, they're easily accessible and they can do it themselves. We also have pictures on the front of all of our boxes so that little ones can go and get it or point to it, and if they know like a car, they can say car and things like that, and we can get them out. Thank you, Ella. But yeah, for our set tasks like our monthly planning and things like that, I'll get it all set out on our new Tough Tray, anything that I wanted out. And if there are like games that are not suitable for babies, then first of all, they're not going to ask for them, but second of all, they are in these boxes here. So we've got like the fuzzy felt or the Play-Doh and things like that that need to be supervised, that I'll just go sit down with them and that'll be it. You mentioned that there were 3 of you. I remember you saying you work with your mum as well. Do you have another childminder as well? No, I have an assistant. She's my best friend of 10 years, and yeah, she's been working with us now for 2.5 years, maybe even 3 coming up now. We also have my nan. She just comes in and helps for lunches now. She used to actually be my assistant, but she's sadly retired. But yeah, she just comes and plays with the kids, reads stories and things like that. She just loves it. So someone has said that they'd love a video of how I set my observations and track with the EYFS. So for my planning and things like that, I have our monthly planning, I have trackers, I have next steps, I have, what else do I have? Interests, the kids' interests, that's a major one to go by. So for my yearly planning, I pick off the top of my head an activity or a topic that I want to do. So frogs. So last month we did frogs, and we learned about tadpoles and growing and different things about like that. So from that, I pick out which child is on their next steps, which needs maths, which needs writing, which needs something else, and then I link it to a different task in that topic. So say we had our tadpole Tough Tray. On that we've got our numbers, we've got our lily pads, and the frogs can jump from one to another. Now say Emily, we don't have a child here called Emily, but Emily needed, not needed to, but her next stage was to learn 1 to 5. So I would focus then on Emily and work with her quite a lot throughout the month on her counting, and if she wasn't interested in it whatsoever, we could then take it to somewhere else, maybe not with frogs but maybe with dollies, but I would then focus with her because I've set it out as a next step for her to learn it by this amount of time. So I really need to work hard with her and get her to try and be where she needs to be. So to get my next steps, I work through our tracker books. Now, our tracker books, I don't know how it works for the rest of the country, but ours are focused in on our area. They have our council on the top of it, and loads of different things to do with our area, but that's why I can't really show you them. But they're just highlighting books. It's literally like the EYFS, the framework, and you could just highlight through it and state which part of the EYFS the child's up to, which ones they've developed, and you can see where your next steps are by the ones that they're maybe fallen behind on and things like that. Ella now has the TV remote. So Emily is doing great in all areas apart from her maths. She needs to be able to do 1 to 5. She needs to be able to see shapes. She needs to, I can't think off the top of my head. So I will have them all blanked out because obviously she hasn't passed them, so I can't highlight them off. Now I can then write in that it has a comment section of what I'm going to be doing, or I use my next steps, which is on my website, which you can download right now. I'll link it down below in the description box. So it has the child's name and the task that they need to do. So Emily needs to learn 1 to 5. How am I going to do that? I'm going to be working with her with our counting games, with our numbers, with our singing and things like that. Then I'm going to put Ella, she's now turning the volume up. So we know what we're doing, we know how I'm going to be doing it, and then the last section is a time length. How long do I think it's going to take for her to learn this? Now if she's in 3 days a week, perfect. She's going to learn it by the next term because we're going to drill it into her. She's going to be able to understand, and yeah, and I think that that is a perfect time for Emily to be able to learn it by. Now on the next bit it says, did she complete it, yes or no? Now if she doesn't complete it by that term, it will obviously be in the next term's next steps. And that is basically how I work with our tracking, our planning, our observations and things like that. Oh yeah, observations. So our observations don't actually link to the next steps. They are wow moments for us. So walking or talking or standing or doing something amazing so that child's never done before. Maybe they've managed to build a tower out of these building blocks and they've never been able to do that before. That is an observation that we use, and we put it in the learning diaries. We highlight which bits are the AYFS and the, what's the word? The EYFS and the something stages, the stages, and you can just highlight off where you think that they're going to be up to. And then on the bottom of that we'll also have the next step. So Emily can now build a tower out of blocks, and she then needs to be able to count the blocks, which also links back to her tracking, which links back to the numbers. So that is how we basically work on it. Now obviously we've got 17 kids, so that is quite a lot to do, and luckily for me I have my mum and my assistant, so they can play with the kids maybe at lunch times and snack times and things like that, and I can get on the table and I can fill them all out and get them all done. Otherwise I'd just be spending my whole weekend filling them all out. And that is basically it for our tracking and planning. I hope that made sense. That was kind of a lot in, like, how long was that? 9 minutes. Oh my goodness, that was a long time. Okay, someone said that they're thinking about starting up childminding in a small city that has a lot of childminders already. Do you think that there is enough demand? Now for me personally, we have childminders here, there and everywhere where I live, and there is always the need for more childminders. But again, if you're in a small city, the best place to ask is your local early years advisory board. So get in touch with your council and they'll be able to tell you exactly who to talk to and maybe if there is a demand or not. Can I ask you to do a video on how you started your business? Now I have done one of these already. It is like way back, right at the beginning, and I started it basically with my mum. I came out of college, I had nothing to do. I wanted to be a teaching assistant or a teacher, and I didn't really want to go through university and things like that, and mum was coming out of a job and we were like, you know what, why don't we just do it? She had my brother who was in primary school at the time, so it was perfect for her, so she could be with him on the evenings and the mornings and the weekends. And for me, I just wanted to be around kids anyway. I wanted to play, I wanted to just be around kids. And then it also helped me being in this business when I had my own kids. So yeah, that is basically why we did it. So the cost of advertising for yourself, well, that depends on how much advertising you want to do. So you can, well, that's again, with our council, we can advertise through the council, through the family service, and if there is a parent looking for a childminder, they go through that and then they can find us. But there's also like local advertising, so you can put your little cards up in play areas. What have you got? Oh wow, thank you, a blue sticker. In local play areas or the local post office, and things like that. Just put your name out everywhere. If you can, try and get in touch with your local primary schools, because there are always people needing after school clubs, and especially if your school doesn't actually do an after school club, that is probably the best place to start. How else do we advertise? Most of all, it's word of mouth with us, really. We're quite a small town, so everybody knows everybody, and then yeah, your name goes around pretty quick. Someone has asked how I actually do my files with the EYFS and things like that. Do I have to do it at night or do I share them with my assistant? So my assistant does help a lot. She does observations, she does word checklists, she does most of the trackers, and then from that I can work off the next steps. I can work off the planning, I can work off the topics, I can work off everything like that. It is all in the day. We don't do extra over the weekends or Fridays or anything like that. It is basically in work hours, which is fantastic. But yeah, it might be harder for someone who's doing it on their own. Maybe they don't have that time where we do for just sitting down and actually getting on with the paperwork, which could be quite difficult for some people. What do you do when you're sick? And do you tell the parents or do you sort out other childcare? So when Mum and Kay are sick, obviously one can either cover for the other, but on Thursdays I think it is, we're all in. And if one is sick, then we'd have to tell their parents that they can't be in today because, well, there's no one else to look after them, which is really annoying. I don't think that's ever happened though, thankfully. No, I don't think it's ever happened. As for when my kids are sick, I don't think my kids have ever been sick, but thank God. I don't know what I'd do. I'd probably explain to the parents, see if they'd still want them to come in. Keep my kids upstairs, obviously, out of the way totally. We'd have to do a massive clean and a Dettol everywhere to clean all the germs away. But I don't know, I guess I'd have to think about it. No. As the time came, I don't know what I'd do. But luckily we've all been sick on the weekends. We've never actually had to close or tell anybody we are sick, so I don't know what I'd do. I think that's it. Oh, another one that I had today was, are these built or can you buy them? My granddad makes them. He is like the handiest man you'll ever meet. He built my stairs. There was like the railing that goes down it. He's built the cupboard in the hall. He built the cupboard in my bedroom. He built all of the fencing in the back garden. Honestly, he's like handyman central. Ella's now having a tea party. But yeah, anything that you see around here is all my granddad's work. Even Miles's bed, if you haven't seen it, I'll link it down below. I have a bedroom tour for Miles's room. He made his bed and it is like amazing jungle safari thing. Like, I don't know how he did it. I don't know how he fitted it in his house, but my granddad is amazing. So, as a new childminder, you have your registration visit. Now, I cannot for the life of me remember that far back. We are going 8 years now, and it kind of blends in with another Ofsted visit. Okay, so we have a registration visit, and then you have your first one, I think 6 months after, I want to say. You can open as soon as your registration visit's done, as long as you've got like a good or an outstanding grade. So ours obviously went great. The Ofsted said yes, we can open, and we got our first child in. At first we had one for probably the 6 months, which was a nightmare for both of us. But it took a while. We got there, started to do word of mouth, and then it was friends of friends of friends, and we just had everybody come in. Now, at the time, it was great. We were getting kids through the door, obviously we were getting paid, but then when you think back now, it's like we were working till like 7 o'clock at night. Sometimes we had them on the weekends, sometimes they slept over, sometimes it was early mornings, and it was like, why are we doing this? This is not what we wanted. We wanted to be able to spend more time with our families and things like that. And you know what, it went on for a good 2 years maybe before we decided, you know what, let's do it for ourselves. Let's do what we wanted to do, what we set out to do. And sometimes it's hard to tell the parents that, but they were all really supportive and understood, and they were happy for it. So we did lose probably 1 or 2 back then, but that was when we were full. So it didn't make much of a difference, but obviously dropping any numbers is going to make some difference. But that was basically what happened. We just did it for ourselves. We were happier. We were just better off, really. Right, so going back again, Ofsted visits. So they come in and they see your setting and they see your paperwork and your policies and things like that. And then they go around and they talk to you and things like that. Now, what I can't remember is if they actually grade you on the day or if you get it in the post like you do with any other visit. Yeah, I can't remember at all. that is basically what I can remember of my registration Ofsted visit. As for other ones, Ofsted visits go super smoothly. I don't know if it's because we've been open so long, we know exactly what we're doing. We haven't changed in the last like 8 years. This is what we are, this is who we are. So Ofsted normally arrive. They will ring you probably a few days before to say we're coming between this day and this day. And if you don't see us by 10 o'clock, you know we're not coming that day. Which is great if you're doing any like visits or days out, trips like that. You can actually be gone by 10 o'clock if you needed to. You're not in all day waiting for them. So Ofsted arrive and they have a look around your setting, they get to know you, and at first they did read the SEF, but obviously we don't have that anymore, so I'm not sure what they're going to do for our next one. I've still got my SEF, if you don't know that, is self-evaluation form that was on the Ofsted website, but now they don't do that anymore, so I'm guessing you still have to evaluate your setting, which luckily I printed mine off, so if they wanted to read it, they still could. And yeah, they just go around your setting, they get to know it, they get to know you, and then they watch you play for a good 2 hours maybe. So you have to show off as much as you can because you feel on the spot because they're watching you like a hawk. But you just get on with it. You play your activities that you're going to play. You've obviously got your plan and set out for that day anyway, so you just carry on and do that. Now, oh thank you, a cup of tea. Yum. She's so funny. And yeah, so you go through all your different steps. So you've got your maths, your literacy, your physical development, and how you can set all of that into one activity. It's quite difficult, but you've got to do it. You've got to show that every activity can link to something, which I failed last time. I didn't link it to maths. We were doing shops, and for some reason I just didn't link it to counting or money or anything like that. For some reason now it's going really bright outside. I'm going to have to turn the brightness down. So I was behind on that, but it didn't really make much of a difference. I still got outstanding, which is great. And then they sit down with you and talk to you and ask you loads of questions, like what would you do in this situation, what would you do in this situation, show you my policies and what we do in a safeguarding situation, and lots of things like that. It is quite draining really. At the end of it you feel like you just want to go to bed, whereas you've still got to work till the end of the day with the kids. But it's alright, it is alright. Most of our visits have been about 4 or 5 hours, so it is a long time when you think about it. Look at her climbing again. Ella, can you get down? And that's basically an Ofsted visit. They will sneakily tell you what your grade was, but it's not official until it comes through the post, and that is basically it. So a meet and greet session with a parent. Now, this is what I'm guessing is the first visit with the parent. Now before that I've spoken loads to them on Facebook mostly, or text messages, or calling them and getting to know them that way. What hours they want, how old's the child, what's their name, what's their interest, and things like that. And that can go on for a while they figure out if they want to or not. Then we've got our visit and they come to the setting and they see us around and they have a look and they get to know us and they ask their questions. And then they do, well I'm guessing that's the meet and greet that they're asking about. So we show them learning diaries, we show them our wall with our certificates and things like that. And yeah, they ask their questions. It's not really a sit down for us, we don't go sitting down. We like to bring them in when we are open and we do have our visits, so we ask them to sign the visitors book. And yeah, they see all the children and how they come into the setting and what they're going to be learning and things like that. It's just it's not like a scary thing really. I don't find it scary. I find it really nice that they wanted to actually come and meet us and they're happy for their child to actually stay and play with us, which is really nice. So if they are happy and they would like to go with us, we normally get a vibe from some people. If they're not happy, they'll be like, oh yeah, well I'm thinking of going somewhere else too, and you're like, okay, never mind then. But the ones that are like, yeah, I want them to start next week, so we hand them our parent pack files, and that basically has a set of, well, in fact I've got a video down below, so I'll link that as well. That has my parent pack, welcome pack, and what's in them and what we give to the parents and things like that. And then they go away and they do it, and then they start probably the next day sometimes. yeah, and that is basically our meet and greets, really. Someone has asked about our playroom and where the children can play. So we have our decking area outside, we have our grass area outside, we have the playroom, we have the dining room, and that is it. From that, we've got a gate that goes right away across the living room, the kitchen, the hallway, the upstairs is mine. The children don't go in that. There is no access for them to go in that anyway. And that's fine, because they've got so much room out this side that they wouldn't need to go in the living room or anything like that. I would say that they do go in the living room when they're in their prams and they go to sleep. We like to push them around the road. That sounds awful. In their pram, we go and have a walk. And then we put them in front of the TV, so there's a bit of music, there's a bit of noise, they're not in complete silence. And then once they gradually wake up, they come back into the playroom and play. And that is basically it. Yeah, this is our playroom. And then it's back to advertising, and I've just talked about that. So that is everything. I hope I answered all your questions. If I didn't, please, you know, put them in the comment down below. I can either put them in the next Q&A, or I could just answer them down below. Whatever you'd prefer, just let me know. And I'll see you all again soon. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give a big thumbs up, subscribe down below, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!